Have you ever wondered why so many big names in finance are suddenly going crazy over gold? No, it's not just because they're looking to make a quick buck off of shiny rocks. We're talking about gold shipments across the world, entire countries stockpiling gold like it's going out of style, and financial institutions diving in headfirst to buy up more gold than they ever have before. And this, my friend, is all happening right now. What's going on? Is gold the new Bitcoin, or is there something bigger at play here? Here's the deal. For the last few months, we've been seeing a huge shift in the gold market. And when I say huge, I mean massive. Like thousands of tons of gold being moved from one city to another. Yeah, you heard me right. We're talking about entire mountains of gold, shipped out of London and into New York. It's one of the largest gold relocations we've ever seen, and it's got people asking, why? What's all the fuss about? Let me break it down for you. Institutions, banks, and even entire countries are buying up gold at a pace that makes Black Friday look like a quiet Sunday afternoon. Since December alone, we've seen more than 2,000 tons of gold move from London to New York. That's not your average, I'll pick up a little bit of gold at the local shop kind of deal. This is a full-on treasure hunt. And what's driving this? Well, it's a mix of factors, but at the heart of it all is one thing: control. These major shifts are about far more than just the price of gold rising. They're about securing assets, protecting wealth, and ensuring financial stability in a time when everything feels unpredictable. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Some people out there are saying that this massive gold push is connected to Fort Knox and the US government trying to control their gold reserves. Wild, right? It's a theory that's been floating around for a while now, and to be fair, it's got some interesting points. They're suggesting that maybe, just maybe, the US government is secretly repatriating its gold to fill up Fort Knox. You know, get that vault nice and full like it used to be back in the day. But hold up, before you go on a conspiracy theory binge, let's look at the facts here. For one, if the US were really repatriating gold, they'd need to pay for it. And let's be honest, with the US drowning in debt, it's not like they have a pile of cash lying around. Even the interest payments are starting to cause a real headache. Second, there would need to be evidence of gold physically moving into those government-controlled vaults. But as of now, there's no clear proof of that. No one's gotten a tour of Fort Knox in ages, and no one has seen receipts or hard documentation proving the gold is even making its way into those vaults. So, where does that leave us? Well, we do know that financial institutions are actively hoarding gold, and not just a little bit. They're hoarding it at a pace that rivals the 2020 liquidity crisis. We're talking $4 billion worth of gold being shipped out as we speak. That's the kind of move that signals major shifts in the global economy. And here's where it gets really interesting. While the US might be rumored to be filling up its gold reserves, other global players aren't waiting around. Russia, China, and the BRICS countries have all been stacking up gold like it's their last chance to survive the economic apocalypse. China, for example, has been actively devaluing its currency in recent years, and a lot of the capital leaving China has been pouring into gold and crypto, totaling around $82 billion in December 2024 alone. Think about that. That's not a small amount, and it's all moving towards assets like gold to preserve wealth against the volatility of the Chinese yuan. Now, let's not forget, China is already the world's largest producer of gold, and it's been building up its reserves for years. Meanwhile, Russia's been doing something similar, with their gold reserves increasing at an alarming rate. The BRICS countries, which include Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are all positioning themselves for a global shift in financial power, and gold is at the center of that. Now, it's not just about hoarding gold. These countries have also been quietly working to reduce their dependence on the US dollar, and they see gold as a way to diversify away from the dollar system. It's not just financial maneuvering, it's a full-scale geopolitical play. They want to gain more power, and having control over physical assets like gold is one way to do that. But let's get back to the US and its massive debt crisis. The US has a $9 trillion problem. Yeah, there's no mistake, the word here is trillion. And here's the kicker, the US is running out of options to manage this enormous debt. This isn't just something that can be swept under the rug, it's the financial equivalent of a ticking time bomb. With rising interest rates and a growing debt load, the US faces a real crisis. So what does the US do when it faces a huge debt crisis? It turns to gold. Gold has been a key financial tool for centuries when countries have faced significant financial turmoil. Just look at the past. In 1933, President Roosevelt revalued gold to stabilize the economy. Then in 1971, President Nixon took the U.S. off the gold standard to deal with the economic pressures of the time, In fact, since the 1930s, the US has repeatedly turned to gold during moments of financial instability. Could the US revalue gold again? It's possible. If the US was to revalue gold, it could be a way to shore up the balance sheet and restore some credibility to the US dollar. Historically, this has been one of the few levers that countries have used when their financial systems are on the brink of collapse. Think of it as the financial reset button. While this may sound extreme, it's important to remember that governments throughout history have used gold to stabilize their economies. If it comes down to it, the US may have little choice but to follow suit. Gold isn't just a commodity, it's a symbol. It represents power, stability, and financial independence. When everything else is falling apart, gold is the one thing that remains constant. Gold is like the financial version of that trusty old blanket you take with you on every trip. It's not flashy, but it's reliable, and in times of uncertainty, that's exactly what people want. And let's be real. Who doesn't want a little piece of that control? In times like these, when the world feels unpredictable and economies are shifting, gold offers something that cash, stocks, and other investments simply can't: security. If you own gold, you own something tangible. Something that isn't tied to the whims of the government or central banks. That's something to think about. What's even more fascinating is how gold ownership varies by country. In the United States, the government doesn't exactly encourage people to own physical gold. They've built a wall around Fort Knox to keep the gold in, while discouraging people from holding on to it themselves. On the flip side, China encourages its citizens to buy gold, but they've built a wall around the country to prevent people from taking their gold out. It's a perfect reflection of the differing governing styles. The United States gives the illusion of financial freedom, but when things go south, they change the rules. China, on the other hand, plays a more authoritarian game, dictating exactly what people can and can't do with their gold. But China isn't just stockpiling gold for the sake of it. In fact, China has been slowly but steadily positioning itself to be a dominant player on the global stage. They're not only building their gold reserves but also pushing forward with alternatives to the United States dollar, such as their digital currency. That's not something the United States can ignore. So what does all of this mean for you and your finances? Well, it's simple. Gold has always been a safe haven in times of financial uncertainty. If you're concerned about inflation, economic instability, or the possibility of a financial reset, owning gold can provide you with that extra layer of protection. But don't just take my word for it. Look around you. We're seeing more and more people taking a close look at their portfolios and thinking, maybe it's time to add some gold. And with all these global shifts in play, it might be a good idea to start thinking about it too. If you're new to investing in gold, it's not all about buying massive gold bars, unless that's your thing. There are plenty of ways to get exposure to gold, from physical coins and bullion to ETFs and gold mining stocks. And don't be intimidated by the idea of buying gold. There are options for every budget. There's something for everyone, from small investors to high rollers. Gold has stood the test of time. It's been a symbol of wealth, power, and stability for thousands of years. And while the world of finance continues to evolve, one thing remains clear: gold is not going anywhere. It's the one asset that has remained relevant through every financial crisis, every market crash, and every economic upheaval. So, as the world becomes more uncertain, the question is, are you ready to secure your future with a little bit of that golden power? Now, if you found this video valuable and you want to diversify your investments beyond traditional stocks and bonds, I have just the thing for you. Even though I believe that investing in a low-cost index fund is the best long-term investment for the average Joe, the benefits of solid physical gold are hard to deny. I think of physical gold as insurance against unpredictable times, and I'm not the only one. In 2023, central banks added over 1,000 tons of gold to their reserves, the second highest annual purchase in American history. And in 2024, central bank got another 290 tons of gold in just the first 3 months of the year. If the biggest banks in the world are buying tons of gold, I'm sure there's a good reason for it. I found a company that allows ordinary Americans to own and securely store physical bars of gold as part of their IRA account. The best part is that they're giving away a free guide to teach you all about investing in solid physical gold. If you want to learn more about how gold can protect your retirement savings, just click the link in the description to receive a completely free gold IRA guide.